Hi, all friends, family, loved ones. In this video, I'm going to do something a bit different than in my previous videos. I am going to begin a series of videos, and I don't know how long it's going to take me, and that's part of the point, is that I'm going to talk to you about paradise. You know, if Adam and Eve lived in paradise and then they got booted out of paradise, so Paradise Lost. I believe there was even a great book written called Paradise Lost. How do we get back into paradise? First of all, we have to figure out and understand what our idea of paradise is. And I just wanted to note that some of this is inspired by the great philosopher Alan Watts, whom I just listened to a video of his, a speech of his, where he mentions many wonderful things, but one of them was that in his view, instead of going to university and filling out a bunch of paperwork and following a bunch of rules and having somebody else tell you what's okay to think and not okay to think and all that kind of thing, you should just submit a 20-page essay on what your idea of paradise is. So I decided that's a very good idea, and I'm going to do a video series on what my view of paradise is. In other words, my ideal world, or you could call it a bit of a fantasy world in a sense, but you and I both know that many fantasies start off as fantasies, but they're really somebody's vision of how they would like things to be, the kind of world that they would like to live in, the kind of experiences that they would like to have. So sometimes people dismiss ideas as mere fantasy when they aren't just fantasy. They may be a fantasy, but fantasies can become reality. We just have to make them so. And that gets to the core of the purpose of what my video series here is all about. So without further ado, I want to begin speaking to you, to myself, to the world about paradise, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. What would be my ideal paradise world? For starters, there'll be very few laws. In fact, I would keep that to a minimum. And perhaps there would only be one law, but it would be a golden one. And that is, as excuse me, many of us know, perhaps all of us really know, why it's a golden one. It is, of course, the golden rule. So as long as we're doing our best not to harm anyone else or ourselves, we have to put ourselves in that group of everyone. We do our best not to harm anyone, and that's our intention, is to live and be free and open in our way of thinking and actions, but to do it in a way that's harmless, honoring everyone. And in that sense, we would be honoring everyone and loving everyone by not, at least not doing any harm to others or ourselves. So that's a very important thing, because it's also honoring the truth, and the truth is that all are one, and oneness is diversity. So we all have our unique gifts and beauty to share with the world. We all need to find a way to deliver this beauty that we have, our greatest attributes, to the world, whatever that may be. And that's going to be a diverse group, because we have such unique talents, but it's also different aspects of the one, which is the ultimate truth, that we all come from the same place. We all are really fractals of God. We have that spark of God consciousness in us. And so when we are following the golden rule, we're following the ultimate truth, and then it's easy to be selfless and in service to others. That's what I have said in one of my past videos, that when we kind of nail greater principles, let's say, we take care of a whole host of other principles and truths and divine qualities, so when we get that, when we really get the golden rule and live by it, then it's easy for us to love ourselves and others, and not, to disrespect others and to commit crimes. Like, we also understand, when we live that rule, that we are all one and the same. Now, does that mean everybody is going to be buddy? Everybody will be buddy, and we're going to be a bunch of chums, and we'll start to do the same things and everything, and dress the same way and all that kind of thing? No, it doesn't mean that at all. Everybody is still going to have their preference in relationships and partners and friends and so forth, business associates. But at the very least, those that we don't exactly get along with, we can still love them and honor them by giving them peace, by putting peace out to them. And then what they do with that is up to them. That's their business. So that's also part of my paradise world, is being service to others. Everyone excuse me, is in service to others, or service to the all. And you see, when we all do that, excuse me, my throat's a bit cloggy today. When we all do that, it's kind of along the same idea and lines as, many hands make lighter work. So when we all are in service to others. the great payoff to the individual that's a part of that world is that we don't need to work so hard to take care of our basic needs and, survival and our goals and desires in life, because everybody's helping each other, and it's making the work much lighter. So it's a shared experience, and really isn't that the truth anyways? Whether we acknowledge it or not, we're all having a collective shared experience, and we're doing it through the lens of an individual, a person, right? But we recognize that there are other people in the world that are having their own individual, unique experience of the collective and the world at large. So, and there are things, events, and what have you that we share. We have a collective experience, a shared experience of. So, when we're all in service to the other, it's very easy to have this individual experience and just to be free and to let it flow, and we feel like we belong, like we're home in that kind of a world. And we trust, which is also a key part of my idea of paradise, is that everybody trusts each other. Now, do we all trust each other because we say all the right things and we dot all of our I's and we cross all of our T's and we follow all the rules, and so that means we must be trustworthy? Or we're trustworthy because somebody tells us that person is trustworthy because they're an authority on this and that. No, that's not why we trust someone. We trust someone because they're real, and they're showing us that they're real. What do I mean by real? Well, it has to do with honesty, for one thing. So they're willing to admit and display that, they're maybe a bit of a scoundrel as well as a bit of a saint at times. Being real also has to do with being balanced. So maybe sometimes we're more emotional or gentle and loving, nurturing. And that doesn't matter, by the way, if you're a man or a woman, but sometimes you're more that way. And then other times you're more, let's say, aggressive or domineering, or you're just more insistent, and so forth. And then we have labeled one of those sets of qualities as being more feminine and the other being masculine, but we all have all of those qualities in us. So that must mean that we have masculine and feminine qualities in every one of us, regardless of what our physical gender is. And so when we can balance those two, we recognize that we have all of those in us for starters, and then we bring them into balance so that we say we don't just act in a masculine way all the time intentionally, but we just allow ourselves to be free to act as we feel is appropriate in any given moment. So not saying, oh, because I'm a man, I can't allow myself to behave in a more typically feminine way, because that doesn't fit the idea of a man, what a man is supposed to be. So in my version of paradise, we'll go way, way beyond all these limitations that we've set on ourselves as what a man is supposed to be, what a woman is supposed to be. We will be free to be as we will be. And that includes being loving and nurturing and receptive, and also being aggressive. I don't mean in a violent way, but just more, like I said, insistent and just, being more the provider, I suppose, for lack of a better term, at times, and being the one that does things to others rather than just being the one that's having things done to them. So, and I don't at all mean that in a negative sense. It's not negative or positive. It's just, again, balance, so that you're a lot less limited in every one of us will be so much more unlimited in your potential and what you're capable of in paradise as I see it. That you're still going to have a male body or a female body, or whatever, but you will honor that as well as all of these other energies and qualities that you have within you. So you will recognize that yes, I am a man and I still have male desires and impulses and whatnot, but you live that out in perfect balance with your female aspects and everything else. So in essence, what I'm getting at is that my paradise will be free, at least, at the very least, approaching what true freedom is. Now, some folks in the past have said that, oh, we can only have freedom when everybody follows a bunch of rules. And I don't necessarily agree with that. In fact, I think it's very potentially harmful to all of us. It's to follow that as some other form of golden rule, because yes, we need to live in a world where we agree, I suppose, on the golden rule, or being kind and considerate to others and this sort of thing. But where has that led us? It's, well, okay. It ends up being what we have had, and as I said, that equates to a whole pile of abstract laws or inorganic rules and ways of thinking that aren't honoring what makes us the brightest and best that we can be. In my idea of paradise, all the creative geniuses of the world will be allowed to do what they do best, and that's work at their own pace and time and process, to have their own process and honor that and recognize that that is how we achieve greatness as a collective. That when you allow the best and the brightest of us to do our thing, that we will come up with